Welcome back to the live coverage of YCS London 2018. We are ready to get yet another feature match ready for our table. In the red corner we got Walid Ben-Abbes. Please come over here, my friend. Hello and welcome to the feature match area.
Thank you.
You've been in the feature match before, right?
Oh, a long time ago.
Long time ago.
Yes, it was in 2012 at YCS Barcelona.
Okay, so Walid, obviously one of the veterans of the game. Where are you from? How did you get here?
I come from France and Paris, and from London I take a plane. It's 1 hour by fly. It's really short. It's great.
Right. And how did you prepare for this tournament? Did you test quite a lot with your friends?
No, actually, I stopped the game during all of the summer. I restart only from the last YCS to Utrecht. I discover a lot of cards and play. I was lucky at the YCS Utrecht. I made top 32, so I hope I will make the same today.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Please have a seat. And his opponent in this round is Joshua Oosters from the Netherlands. Joshua, please come here. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm pretty good.
Pretty good. I see you in the venue the entire time. You're pretty relaxed. Like after your matches, you just have a seat, like look at the feature match. What's the reason why you're so relaxed?
I don't know, I just feel good. Like last weekend I played YCS Niagara Falls and like I did really good there, so I'm just like still of the
You
vibe.
just keep going, basically.
Basically, yeah.
Does it feel like it's all one large event, last weekend and this weekend, or did you feel like, okay, this is different?
Yeah, it's definitely different. I look at it like one game at a time, but I'm still like high of the vibe from last weekend, so that's why.
And you did win your national championship before in the Netherlands. I remember we interviewed you yesterday, what was like one of your past experiences, and you highlighted that, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like it was just amazing. Like before that, I always really want to win nationals, and then I finally did it. Like the year before, I got second, so like I was heartbroken, and then like the year after I won, so it was great. Yeah.
You've been to YCS London before. What's the best thing about YCS London?
I really like the location because we have Comic Con like right there. Like that's really cool.
Right.
I really like England anyway, so there's lots of good things about it.
Well, it seems like both of our players, please have a seat, thank you very much. Both of our players are ready to get their game on. Our judges are going to be here in just a second. We can already start with the die roll to decide who's going to go first. So Walid rolls a 6. Joshua's like, And he's got a 5. Walid can decide. And he decides to have Joshua go first. All right. Some interesting shenanigans happening at the table here. With that, let's take you to our casters, Dom Galizia and Tom Payne.
Thank you. Welcome back. I hope you're enjoying the show so far. We're ready here almost. As you can see, Tom, two people that really know the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game.
People have been around a while, indeed.
Valid 6 years ago he was playing.
I get the feeling Josh has been playing at least that long as well, but I don't know for sure.
And I mean, Joshua, we heard there he had real good experience in recent years at his national championships. Really travels, obviously last weekend at YCS Niagara Falls.
Exactly, yeah.
So yeah.
He sounds like he's having lots of fun.
Two guys that are personifying exactly what Yu-Gi-Oh! Is about. Fun and events. So, without further ado...
No, we don't have the apps loaded yet.
Oh, we're not quite ready to
I was
take
going
you
to say,
to the table,
we would
guys,
normally
so
tell you what decks they're playing, but...
We can't quite do that yet.
We can't do that yet because we don't actually know. We do know Josh is playing Burning Abyss. But do we know what Walid is playing? We might find that out. Hopefully we'll invoke Mech Knight. There you go.
So
that
we have
makes
the
some
matchup.
sense.
So we have the matchup for you.
Yeah.
Valid is playing Invoke Mech Knight and Joshua is playing Burning Abyss.
So it does make a fair amount of sense that he chose to go second, given he is playing the Mech Knight cards, which really just don't work.
So what do we think about that matchup, Tom? How is the invoked Mech Knight Burning Abyss matchup going to go, in your opinion?
It's not one I'm that familiar with, to be honest. I am a big fan of the Burning Abyss deck, especially the new breed of the Burning Abyss deck that runs Orbital Hydrolander, which I think that Josh is running. So, you know, that's kind of cool. It looks very... I think it's sort of inspired by the Dinka Boy who came second at YCS Utrecht. It looks fairly similar to that list, and it's a very powerful deck, and is also quite similar to what Josh played at Niagara Falls. And then we have the Mech Knight Invoke deck, and some of the cards are in French. but I think I know most of them. But it is a challenge of my language skills. So the Mech Knight Invoke deck is very capable of OTKing with...
Cool. So without further ado, let's head on over to the match table, over to the judges.
All right, so we see Josh being able to go first. He has got... I mean, all the Burning Abyss deck is very famous for only needing a couple of Burning Abyss monsters to be able to play, which is cool for Josh because he does have... Well, he doesn't quite have a couple of Burning Abyss monsters, but I think he's got a Fiendish Rhino Warrior, which basically counts as a Burning Abyss monster and a Burning Abyss monster.
And as we can see, the hands are just being fed into the app here. 2 copies of Fiendish Rhino Warrior for Joshua.
Fiendish Rhino Warrior is really one of the most powerful cards now in the Burning Abyss deck, because I think a lot of people thought when Master Rule 4 was introduced that would really hamper the Burning Abyss deck because there aren't any Burning Abyss Link monsters yet. So you can't, like, once you've made a Link monster, you can't summon your Burning Abyss monsters because they're all they'll just destroy themselves. However, with Fiendish Rhino Warrior, now you can summon the Rhino Warrior and then start summoning your Burning Abyss monsters, and the Burning Abyss monsters are not destroyed, which is very helpful.
And I mean, this is an ever popular deck as well. It's seen a lot of play from back till 2015, 2014.
So it's been it's been around a long time.
Yep.
I mean, obviously the deck has the way the deck is played has been changed. You know, now it's seeing it used to run lots of traps when it first came out, but now it's running none.
Yes.
In fact, and only 3 spells.
Those Sekka's Light.
Yeah. So, Walid has used the Ash now. Okay, sure. That makes some sense. Hang on, what did he Ash? Oh, he Ashed the Graph. Okay. I was wondering why Josh was still picking up his deck, and I think that's because he milled the Scam. So now he can search his deck for Tour Guide in the end phase. Which seems kind of nice, you know, just for free, searching one of the best cards in the game. One of the best normal summons, at least.
I mean, and Tour Guide is really it's a fan favourite as well, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
So not only is it one of the most powerful cards in the game, but it's a real prominent fan favourite, I would say.
Totally, yeah. So...
Walid?
I think, yeah, well, it's probably a little bit underwhelmed. He's got Twin Twisters, which does literally nothing against a deck which has
doesn't play any spell and traps,
doesn't play any spells and traps. This is the second round in a row that we've seen this happen. Well, Metaverse, but... And then he's also got the Psyframe Driver, which is not great because the Gamma's the one you want to see and the Driver is the one that you kind of have to play if you want. I mean, he has still got the Driver. He has still got the Gamma, but drawing the Driver just does very little for you. So Josh has got... I mean, Josh, I guess, just sort of... He can't respond to the Alistair. I think maybe he's just making his opponent think that he can. He's got Ghost Bell, but I think Ghost Bell negates activations, and I think that Magical Meltdown prevents your fusion spells activations being negated. So there's a possible trip up here for Josh if he tries to use the Ghost Bell on the invocation, because he can't. So he should probably be careful of that one. Yeah. Do you mean wary?
Yes.
I was going to say, weary. He has not done it before. But we're going to see a few more plays. So one of the nice things about was we're going to see the new... Well, we're probably going to see 1,000 Eyes Restrict. And then he's going to be... Oh, no, we can't see 1,000 Eyes Restrict. That's a little bit awkward. Because I assume that he wants to make use of the new invoked Link monster. But that requires monsters with different types and attributes.
So what else does he have in the extra deck then? What other options does
I
Walid
would
have
like
right now?
to be able to tell you. But then, they are all in French.
I can see they are all...
So, I mean, I'm assuming he's playing 1,000 Eyes Restrict. I'm assuming he's playing Invoked Raijin. And now he's explaining this card. I think this card is used in case somebody wants to use Super Poly. So we can see the Super Poly in the side deck. And I think this card is used because it's got fairly generic fusion materials.
Okay.
And then you can summon it with Super Poly and just clear your opponent's board with the Super Poly. I think that's what it's there for. And the Super Poly is in the side deck, so that would sort of reinforce that guess. So yeah, if Josh tries to use Bell, then hopefully Kiwi will be on board, but he can use the DD Crow. DD Crow is a bit of a Hail Mary, because if Walid had another copy of Alistair in his hand, then he would just fuse with it. But he can fuse with the Alistair on the board, well, the Meltdown Invoker, because it does count as Alistair the Invoker. I think it should go to the graveyard, though. I think Invocation sends monsters on the field to the grave. Hopefully one of them will notice that it should end up in the grave. It banishes materials from the graveyard, and does it not send...
We can
Oh no,
bring
it banishes monsters from your field as well. I'm just talking nonsense. Should we bring it up? I think it banishes... Here we go. You can also banish monsters from your field. Ah, okay. No, I was wrong. Josh has got some very funny expressions.
Very animated there, wasn't he?
Well, he was using the effect of Raijin to set Dante, and I think he maybe he asked Josh if he had a response, and Magical Meltdown prevents your opponent from responding to the successful summon, the successful fusion summon of a monster. So Josh was being like,
I don't think
I'm not allowed to respond. So yeah, sorry about that. So that DD Crow, although Walid still managed to fusion summon, it has really shut him down, because it meant that rather than fusion summoning with into a Link Arrow, he had to fuse away his Link monster, and now his extra monster zone is clogged up, which is really not great. On the flip side, he's set the Dante, and when the Dante is flipped, he can just set it again if he wants to, and then Josh will have a face-down monster that he can't do anything with in his own extra monster zone, which is just kind of naff.
Yes, kind of locks him out.
It locks him out as well, so I'm not really sure if there's anything particularly exciting that Josh can do with this turn, if I'm totally honest.
Well, he's having a think, and he's looking through the graveyard.
I think he might be, I don't know, I mean, maybe he has got a plan, but I can't see what the plan is. So if the plan is just set Fiendish Rhino Warrior, how sad.
And he's passed, so Walid draws for his turn. What does he pull up?
Very, interestingly, how the game just completely, slowed down. Engage is pretty good. I don't know if he's got the requisite 3 spells. He's definitely got an instant fusion, and I think he used it. Did he use terraforming?
He did.
He did. So he's got 2 spells. So we might see him just throw his own Twin Twister into the graveyard by discarding the Gamma, which he's also not going to use, in order to get a bonus draw from the engage. We might not see that as well.
He looks like he's really working something out right now. So is he playing out options here, do you think?
I think that might be that's the kind of decision. So either that or he'll just use the engage, or he's kept the engage. That's interesting. I mean, if he was planning on Link summoning something, I don't know. Maybe he's just keeping the engage for later because he's decided he's not going to use the token this turn. This is a very passive play. Maybe he's decided he doesn't think Josh can do anything in this situation, which, to be honest, he might be right on. Because Josh, he's just going to have to, if he flips the Dante, he's going to flip it right back down again. So the only decent solution I can see to this situation for Josh is if he draws a Destiny Hero Malicious, he can tribute his own monster to get it away from the extra monster zone. If he drew a Farfa, then he could summon the Farfa and banish the Dante. Or he could have summoned the Farfa before his turn and before he flipped the Dante and banished the Raijin. But he didn't have any of those things. And now Walid's basically got the advantage of just being able to search an invocation, flip it down. He's going to be able to search another invocation. He's now drawn that terraforming to naturally put a third spell in the grave.
For engage.
So that play is a pretty nice play. He's just said, I think I have a turn to do whatever I want, and I'm going to take it. And that's what he's done. I mean, Josh has got the Ash, and at this point you kind of look at it and think he's searching like 4 invocations or whatever this turn, so I don't know whether he wants to use it to just negate a single search. I don't know what search he's going to think. You kind of get to this point where your opponent's searching so many of the same thing, you don't really know when is going to be a good time to use the Ash. But he's decided now is not a good time to use the Ash, which I think it seems fair enough.
So would you say Walid is in a really good position, or would you say that depending on where the game goes, that Joshua might still be able to come back?
I would say I quite like the position Walid is in. He's in control of the tempo. He can decide to make a push now if he wants to, but he doesn't have to. But he's decided that he wants to. So it's nice to be in that situation of you get to choose when to push. So he's now. He can't link summon the Nightmare Unicorn because it requires 3 different material.
Yep.
2 plus materials. Yeah. 2 plus monsters with different names. And he tried to use 2 Alistair, but that's fine because he can just make a link 2 first with one of the Alistair and then go ahead. I'd be interested to see which one he chooses to spin. So he's chosen to spin the Dante because now the Farfa, if he wants, can banish that Nightmare Unicorn. Invoked is really a deck that wants to have a Link monster out, because that way when it uses the extra deck, yeah, okay. I mean, Josh saving the Ash is now going to look pretty smart, because now he can just Ash that.
And he looks comfortable.
I think
like Joshua seems very comfortable.
Well, I think he's now decided that he might be out of the lock, although that Ash is now looking very sad. Oh, that's sneaky. So yeah, I mean, Ghost Bell can actually negate it. I mean, normally it seems pretty sad negating Ghost Bell with... Sorry, negating a Gamma with something like Ash or Ghost Bell, because they just keep it in their hand. But the Gamma resolving would be so brutal that it makes total sense, in my mind. And now he knows the Gamma is there, and there's not really going to be any way for that Gamma to be triggered again now that he's probably going to have a monster on his field at all times. I think Josh is going to be perfectly capable of playing around that Gamma now. He's got 3 invocations.
Yeah, it's a lot of invocations.
It's a lot of invocations, but the problem is, because he's not got a Link monster, he's just going to summon a... He's just going to have to, summon one fusion monster, and then what does he do? He can't summon any more. Damn that pesky Master All 4.
Yeah, that really does restrict the amount of special summoning from the extra deck without those links. So again, Joshua just looks really cheery.
I think he's just a cheery guy. He's a pretty cheery guy. So now the Nightmare Unicorn has come back and moved zone, and it is going to open up. So this is a real clock for Josh here, being under the Mechaba, because there's multiple link zones, but he's said goodbye to the Mechaba, and now he can freely summon the Tour Guide. So he knows one of the cards is Gamma. I think he knows most of Walid's hand, because he knows there's a Gamma, he knows there's an Alistair. I think he knows there's multiple invocations. So everything but the Twin Twister he knows.
Yeah, he's got a lot of information right now, so he can really assess as to what might be a best play for him, right?
And it's going to be really awkward for Walid if a Unicorn gets cleared, because once again he's going to be in this if he ends with a clear board, he's going to have all these invocations, but you do need to be able to make a Link monster to make any good use of them. Oh, and that's really nice for Josh. Oh, that's a really nice mill. Snow and Seer. Honestly, now I don't really know what the Rhino Warrior wants to send.
And he's literally he has a whole selection of cards in his graveyard that he can think about as well.
I think he probably just wants to count them. Because Snow can, banish 7, bring it back. I mean, Snow is so powerful in this deck. I mean, Snow's very powerful in a lot of decks, but in this deck, you can use it both as an powerful interrupt on your opponent's turn, much like, the Raijin was completely shutting Josh down, and he can do a similar job with Snow. And then as well on his own turn, if he's got lots of monsters in his graveyard, he can banish them, bring back Snow, link, banish, bring back Snow again, link, and then even during the battle phase, summon it again and attack. It's really powerful. So he's elected to send the Fabled Sulcius, which is probably not going to cause too much of a stir. Has he forgotten to use Seer? I think he might have. He did mill a Seer, right? I think he might have forgotten to use Seer.
Well, he summons the Snow.
Yeah, that's a little bit unfortunate. I guess maybe he was too excited that he milled Snow. I don't know if he's going to be able to assemble an OTK anyway. Oh, I mean, he's going to get to make use of Seer regardless, so he's not forgotten. Maybe I don't know.
It was part of the master plan.
It was
Tom.
part of the master plan, because now he can use Sulcius and discard the Seer, so he's going to get to trigger it anyway. That makes sense. I should have trusted him. I didn't trust him. No, I look silly. That's pretty cool. So you can use Underclock Taker. Possibly Underclock plus Boral Sword. Underclock reducing the attack, then making a Boral Sword. Along with the Snow Engrave is enough to attack for game, but I am not sure because I would have to add it. But Boral Sword is normally game. That's kind of how it works. It just kind of reads attack for game. In combination with the Snow in the graveyard, obviously.
And he looks super comfortable with his deck, Joshua. He's playing at a real reasonable pace. He knows what options are available to him. He didn't really hesitate in making choices.
I think that was very slick. So I even accused him of missing a Seer, and he did not. He knew what he was going to do, because holding the Seer meant that Dante was in the graveyard, so then the Seer could bring back Dante, which was the best target for Seer. Well, he's just checking Boral Sword's effect. I mean, I assume he knows what Boral Sword does. I suppose it is a fairly new card. I think he's going to do 8,000 damage. Well, he only needs to do 7,000. So the first Boral Sword hit swings for 3,000, and the Boral Sword goes up to 4,100. I think the Unicorn is at 1,200. So he's done 3,000. He's going to hit for another 650. Maybe that's not exactly game. Let's see. So I think he's just taken 3,000. I think he should have taken more than that. So he's going to take, 3,000 plus another 650 plus another 4,100. Oh no, that is game. Yeah.
And Joshua looked confident. And there's the handshake. So yes, there. One game to Joshua there.
Despite that sort of fairly nasty lock. I mean, interestingly, I think if Walid had just chosen to keep the situation he was in, I'm not sure Josh could have done anything. But you do need to attack at some point, right? I think possibly the volume of hand traps coming through in Josh's hand stopped Walid from making the push that he wanted to.
Yeah, and there was no real comeback or interruption from Valid's hand. And I mean, Joshua had a lot of information as we saw as
I mean, his hand at that point was just a load of invocations.
So I think Joshua felt really comfortable in that and pushed through. So
yeah, he knew the gamma was there, but he didn't even have to play around it because Walid had banished the driver on the previous turn, and it's exceptionally uncommon for people to be playing more than one driver. This is really not something you want to draw.
So looking at the side decks, what are we thinking here?
I'm going to be honest. Walid's side deck is in French, so I'm guessing that says Red Reboot. and I'm guessing that the top card is Secret Village of the Spellcasters, neither of which are going to be very helpful.
Yes, Valid is playing 3 copies of Red Reboot, as is Joshua in the side.
I think Joshua is probably not
Quite
going to be
content.
siding that much. I would expect to see. So I think I saw him taking the ghost spells out because there, as we saw, it's it can negate an invocation, but not if Magical Meltdown is on the field. So it's quite iffy because they do play like 5 copies of Magical Meltdown effectively with the 2 terraformings. So more often than not, it's going to be on the field, and it's possibly not really worth the risk of having a dead card. So he might just rotate those out for some kaijus, and that might just be it.
Yeah, Valid looked to add a few cards and remove a few cards. So
I don't know what a Force Egals. I mean, that does sound a little bit like equally matched to me, but again, I'm not French. What do you reckon? Our forces Egals. It's got Egals, which kind of means equal, and then it's got forces. I'm going to be honest, I don't know what the card beneath it is. I got it right. Hey. I don't know what the card beneath it is. What do you reckon that is?
Well, Rouge is...
Oh yeah, I got Red Reboot. Yeah. That's the one beneath that.
Balade Partage.
Song? Maybe?
Ballad is dance, song, something like this, yes.
We'll have to look it up. I feel like I should be able to get the bomb one, but I don't know.
So they're just loading the cards into the app now. We're almost ready to begin match 2 here for this round. We're not quite sure who's going first. Oh, it's
Josh.
Joshua's going first.
I mean, the invoked Mech Knight deck really has to go
Wants
second,
to go second,
because
yeah.
it's to resolve the Mech Knights. His side deck of Walid is completely built to go second as well. He's got the red reboots, he's got the evenly matched. Here we see the excitement of one of the danger monsters resolving, especially when Josh is doing it. Little cheer. Controversial decision to put the Tsuchinoko in defense mode rather than attack mode before he overlays with it. What do you think to that? I'm joking. It really doesn't matter. He's just gonna make a Dante. Josh has decided he likes his hand enough that he doesn't want to use the effect of Jackalope. Maybe I just like using the danger monsters, so I might have liked to have used the effect of Jackalope to possibly trade a card in my hand.
When might we see the Ash Blossom from Valid?
I don't know. I mean, he could use it now. He used the Droll? Aha, he used the Droll. Okay, so definitely not now. I missed him dropping the Droll. I was too excited by the danger monsters. That's probably why he normal summoned. I completely missed the Droll. That was pretty bad. I was too excited by what Josh was doing. Josh's Droll, on the other hand, is going to be pretty tasty.
Well, we see the activation of Meltdown there for Valid.
Yeah, so that's almost certainly going to bait out the Droll from Josh. And Walid's going to look at that Cyframe driver in his hand and just be very sad that it's a Cyframe driver and not a Cyframe Gamma.
It was a little bit of an acknowledgement from Valid there as well. Just a little nod of the head.
Droll is really devastating. I mean, it's not always. It's kind of like it depends whether your hand's full of search cards or full of the cards that you were going to search. You've already drawn the cards you were going to search. You don't need to be bothered by Droll. However, in the situation where he's got the Engage, he's got Alistair, it's really grim. I mean, he can use Instant Fusion, and then you kind of ask, well, what do you do with Instant Fusion, really? That's a really brutal draw on Lockbird, if I'm going to be honest.
There is that slight, as I say, that look of discontent, but
I mean,
there's a long way to go. There's a lot of cards in hand.
What the Droll Lockbird is doing really in Walid's deck, because it doesn't really seem that strong against Burning Abyss. I mean, in that case, it prevented Josh from searching with Scarm that he milled. But yeah, I'm not If I'm Walid, I'm really not very happy here.
And how's Joshua feeling? Is he happy?
I mean, he doesn't know. He doesn't know what's about to happen. Because if Walid's drawn the invocation, then he can still make a fair. He can still make a. There we go. I wasn't expecting that, but there you go. He did just tribute summon a side frame driver. That is not something you see every day. I don't think Josh's hand has got that much in the way of aggressive capabilities.
Depends what he draws. What
it does.
Did you catch a look at that?
It says DD Crow.
It just got added to the app, Tom. Yes.
I didn't see what it was when he drew it. So this is one of the common complaints about Droll. Even though Droll was quite devastating for Walid on that turn, it comes with the sort of requirement for Josh that he can now do something productive on his turn, and he can't. Right? As there's very little for him to do. I assume he's just going to set the Scam and pass.
So Walid draws?
So almost in a sense the Droll kind of passed the turn for his opponent, which he then passed right back. Whereas if it was something more proactive, then he might have, maybe. It's hard to tell.
I think Walid's starting to feel a bit comfortable here. A bit more comfortable here.
Yes. Yes, he'll definitely be much happier now that the Alistair did not resolve, to be fair. But he drew Invocation for turn, and that makes you really happy, I think. If you've got the Invocation in your hand and you're...
Well, he had a lot of options.
Yeah.
He had a lot of cards in his hand at the point in which Droll and Lockbird was activated by
Oh
Joshua.
yeah, no, I mean, so that the Ash on the Alistair, because it's always a risky one for... If someone's just got the Invocation, which they do probably run 3 copies of, then Ash on Alistair seems really sad. But I think it's probably worth the risk. And now we're going to see the effect of what's his face being Alistair the Meltdown Invoker to discard a card and search another copy of Invocation, most likely. Do we think he has enough to attack for Josh's remaining life points? I think he probably does.
Depends if he can special summon some more monsters. I mean, is that likely here?
Oh yeah, he searched another Invocation.
So
he's got some link arrows to summon to with the Invocation. Although I'm not sure he's got another Alistair to use. No, so what he can do is discard the Alistair to grant the bonus attack now and then use it as a fusion material. So he's basically just hoping that Josh has not set a Farfa, and Josh has not set a Farfa, he set a Scam.
And there's the scoop, so it was a lot of pressure coming through from Walid there. He takes the second game and he looked quite happy actually.
I would say you're probably happy that you win a game when your turn 1 players to activate instant fusion,
complete turnaround.
Use Thousand Eyes Restrict and then tribute summon her.
But complete turnaround from him though. His body language was quite negative. He was looking down and then...
I mean, that Droll was pretty big. It really, really shut his turn down. And then just your opponent basically just passing right back. You just have to be very sigh of relief, I guess. Because in that point, the game is just entirely in your opponent's hands. He had no interruptions. If Josh had, for example, drawn a Tour Guide or a Fiendish Rhino Warrior or another Burning Abyss monster, he could have started making some plays.
So it's 1-1, game 3 now. They're just heading into it and looking at the side decks. Does Josh side at this point?
I think Josh did side. I don't know what he sided, but I think I saw him interacting with his side deck a little bit, but he might have just been doing that to trick me. I guess he probably lets Walid start. But he's not actually seen any Mech Knights yet. So if I was playing against a deck, playing...
He's played 2 games against Walid now and he hasn't seen the Mech Knights.
I would still assume there are Mech Knights in the deck and they just didn't draw any. But it's hard to tell. I mean, there's no real way of searching the Mech Knights. The Mech Knights search other Mech Knights, but if you don't draw any to begin with, then you don't get any. But I honestly couldn't see this type of deck that Walid is running, not running Mech Knights. And to add to that, he did initially win the dice roll and give Josh the tell Josh to start. So Josh is probably aware that
Of what
his
Walid's playing,
opponent wants to go first. Wants to go second even, so he might just throw it and let his opponent go first.
Do we think Josh is going to start?
I think no. But honestly, if I struggle, even when I know I think it's probably the correct thing to let my opponent go first, I still feel like
I should go first.
I should go first. Going first is better, you know?
It's always been a thing in Yu-Gi-Oh, isn't it? That if you go first,
Even when
you're
they
able to
took the
build
extra
momentum.
draw away, they still say, I want to go first. And
So we can see DD Crow.
that does look like a DD Crow. That does look like a Sekka's Light. I mean, it's cheating because there's the only card of that colour in his deck.
Yes.
Is Sekka's Light. In fact, he is side decking Twin Twisters.
Can we see anything other than the Ash Blossom? The Impermanence is there for Walid. We've just seen that get loaded into the app. And here they come. So he's drawn into a couple of Mech Knights.
So yeah, here we see, it's basically just passed. So this is the benefit of choosing to go second
He gets
against
that
Mech
extra
Knights.
card.
You get the extra card and you get a battle phase, basically for nothing. Mech Knights really don't achieve anything on the first turn. It's so hard to get any good use out of them.
And what's going through Joshua's head right now?
I'd say
What's he
Josh is
gonna
quite happy. Josh is smart enough. It's still not something I've got into the habit of, to be honest. So it's good for him, which is not to activate the something in the same column as your opponent's face down spells and traps if you can help, which he has done. Walid, we're not seeing all the cards in Walid's hand because
Yeah, we're missing one, aren't
we're
we?
missing one, and we can see it's the Droll Lockbird. So Walid's going to choose. He's chosen to use the Droll rather than the Ash. And now, Infinite Impermanence, even though it seems like a fairly bad way of stopping your opponent attacking you, Josh has got Fiendish Rhino Warrior or Tour Guide. So if he chose to normal summon either of those cards before XYZ summoning, then the Infinite Impermanence on those cards would stick him with a non-Burning Abyss monster, and then he would be losing out. But Josh is smart enough to play around the Infinite Impermanence. I don't know if you're expecting any other back row from this deck, so possibly a Call by the Grave. So I think it's a fairly sensible play to be playing around the Infinite Impermanence. So if you've chosen to summon the Fiendish Rhino Warrior, for example, then, well, he could have flipped the Infinite Impermanence on the Fiendish Rhino Warrior, and then it would no longer have the effect to prevent the destruction of the Burning Abyss monsters.
So what did he mill there? Was that a Scarm?
That's a Scarm. Is not that relevant milling a Scarm in this situation because he already used the effect to summon it from his hand.
Okay. Yeah, the special summon ability of the Burning Abyss, right?
Yeah. So he has milled. I mean, most of none of the cards he's milled really do anything there. Orbital Hydrolander is a very cool card, but it doesn't do anything when you mill it. So he's choosing now whether he's going to summon the Tour Guide or the Fiendish Rhino Warrior.
He is. You could tell he was really intensely looking through those, but it looks like it's.
It looks like the Fiendish Rhino Warrior. So he might be thinking about how if he can assemble 8,000 damage, or he might just be. So yeah, I mean, maybe he's going to try. I don't know. I don't really know how he can assemble 8,000 damage, to be honest. So maybe he's not going to try and assemble 8,000, but maybe he can. You never know. He's a good player.
Well, he looked really comfortable with his deck in the previous round, duels. So I'm going to go with he knows what he's doing.
Oh, he definitely knows what he's doing. So he might be sending the Fabled Sulcius off. Off of the Fiendish Rhino Warrior to give him another attacker, along with summoning back Dante off Seer and getting an add back of Scarm. Infinite Impermanence being used to negate the Phoenix, which basically achieves nothing because all the Phoenix was trying to do was get the Infinite Impermanence off the field regardless. What did he just send to the graveyard? I just missed it with Rhino Warrior. maybe he will unfan his graveyard in a second. Oh, it was indeed the Fabled Sulcius. Okay, so now we need to do some arithmetic. How many... Is Fabled Sulcius you can use more than once in a turn, I think. So I think he's going to have 8,000 damage.
He looks comfortable.
So yeah, so Boral Sword plus Fabled Sulcius is 8,100. So I think that's probably what he's going to go for. And you can just summon the Sulcius again.
And he's looking really comfortable. That he probably knows that his opponent's deck isn't going to do anything to interrupt him.
Oh,
so
yeah.
There's the
And
handshake.
there we go.
So that Boral Sword took the game again.
Honestly, I think Boral Sword is just kind of the means to the end. Like, it's like he had control, he had all his resources, and Boral Sword is the most efficient way in the extra deck of doing that. But I think it's sort of the symptom of him having way more options than his opponent.
Let's talk a little bit more about that in the post-match analysis. So welcome back, yes. As you saw, Joshua takes the match 2-1. Seems to me that Boral Sword Dragon was the one that really hit home there. He took the first match. Walid came back in the second match, and it looked like Boral Sword again in the third.
I mean, Boral Sword is a really cool card for just finishing your opponent off. And it basically turns like your 4-link materials into a lot of damage in a very efficient way. And sometimes it lets you kind of steal a game and attack for game in situations where you might not have been able to previously. I feel like in that second game, it was kind of like Josh had a load of resources, his opponent had an empty board. So I'm not sure it's the Boral Sword which is really like doing the work. It was his choice to go second against Walid's deck. It was the Burning Abyss monsters all coming together.
It felt like the first game was actually the most pivotal because obviously in the second game we knew that Joshua won the match. Walid then chooses to go second in the second game, which was to his advantage for his deck. But that first game, there was a lot of back and forth, actually.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a momentum shift as well, because often, like, you can kind of win a game and think, you know, I won that game super easy, maybe you're not that confident, or if you lose a game super easy, you think, right, I'll just go on to the next one. Whereas in a game like that, where both players have had multiple turns, they've both had multiple attempts to try and get something going, then you might think, you might spend time thinking back, going, could I have won that game? You know, was there something I could have done differently? Obviously, he made that minor procedural error using the trying to use 2 Alices to make a unicorn, which didn't really have any impact. But there are certainly other decisions. He definitely could have done things differently.
Yeah, and I mean, Joshua really knew his deck. That was evident with the Fabled Sulcius in the second game, in the third game. Sorry. He really knew. He really motioned through with his summons.
Oh yeah, being able to assemble that. I'm not sure everyone would have been able to do that.
I think we're ready to head over to Oliver Gurman at the table now, who's going to do the match interview with Joshua.
Welcome back here at the main event stage, at the main feature match table. We got Joshua Oosters here, who just proved that like keeping at it, going back to back in YCS can really help. However, you said you were quite nervous when that second game didn't quite go your way.
Yeah, like game 1, I was also losing, but I got super lucky with my Dante Mill, so I could OTK him. And then game 2, like I couldn't do anything. And game 3, it was just really scary. Like he plays a billion hand traps, so I wasn't quite sure if I could like do all my plays,
right.
But
so,
yep.
Yeah, in the end, you persisted. How did you approach those individual games? Did you just like after the first game, okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves, I still need to win a second one?
Yeah, exactly. Like never just take the win for granted, because I saw like game 1, I just got super lucky, so that's why I won. So I was like, hope I can pull it off 2 more games. I did, so that was nice.
I know you couldn't hear it, but the Twitch viewers could just hear it. These guys gave you a lot of credit, saying that you really knew the ins and outs of your deck.
Oh, really?
Yeah, what do you have to say about that?
Well, I'm really glad the Twitch viewers think that.
Oh, sorry, no, our commentators.
Oh, the commentators think that. No, I played the deck since like 2015, so I'm pretty familiar with the plays. Like, I think at some point I milled Sir, but I knew not to use it, so I could use it later in the turn for like Sulcius, I think. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so obviously practice makes perfect. Is that the secret, or what else do you need to do well at a larger event like this one?
I think, yeah, like practice makes perfect. You just need to know what you're playing. Try not to play a deck you're not familiar with, because you will lose games to yourself, which you don't need to lose, which it's just bad, yeah.
What was your expectation going in this tournament? I mean, you said last weekend was Niagara.
Yeah.
I forgot, how did you do at Niagara Falls?
I ended up top 16.
Okay, so decent result. So you were thinking, okay, this weekend is going to be similar, more of the same. I'm also going to end up in the tops?
No, most definitely not just, I'm gonna end up in the tops. Like, I knew I have a good deck, like I know how to play it pretty well, but the format shifted, the players are different here, so you never quite can just assume I'm gonna do well as well. Like,
you just mentioned that the players are different. What is the main difference between European and North American Yu-Gi-Oh?
Maybe it will sound a bit stupid, but the main difference is, like, they all talk English there. So like, no, it really makes a difference in communication, because it's over there it's way easier than over here. Like, sometimes you have to play someone who doesn't know English, and you're just like signing to your cards and stuff, and it really makes quite a difference for me while playing the game.
Right, so it doesn't take away from you. Do you have any other cool tricks that help you staying focused, especially in a tournament like this one where people are speaking 10 different languages?
No, I'm really like superstitious, so I have lots of things I do that I think will get me lucky. Like, I try to sit at a certain side of the table, but it's all just like, it's in my head, it doesn't make any sense, but it keeps me calm. So
are you avoiding ladders in the feature match area?
Definitely, black cats, don't want to see them. Like, touching them all.
All right, so let's hope for Joshua's sake that we never have some black cat cards being released in the future that are super playable. So, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I hope you're going to keep going. Wouldn't be that surprising. I mean, we've seen you do well a couple of times before.
Yeah.
With that, guys, we're going to wrap this up. This is round number 5, and very soon we're going to be back with our feature match for round number 6.